Hey, welcome back. It's the Marketer of the Day podcast, and Tiffany Alexander is here from Aspen SageFund.com. And we're neighbors. What are the odds, right? I'm in Turlock, she's in Modesto. Most people don't even know where either of those locations are, but that's okay. And Tiffany is embarked on her real estate investing journey in 2006, and she has seen all kinds of strategies, employed all kinds of strategies, short sales, tax liens, flipping multifamily properties. But her focus has shifted to promissory note investing, and Tiffany specializes in buying notes as investments and employing specialized investment strategies to maximize gains for herself and her clients. She's helped over 1,000 people in real estate to identify and achieve their investment objectives through real estate and note investing. So we're going to find out some of these secrets from Tiffany of why notes, what we can do. And she also is just a smart, clever business person and motivational and has a lot of good things to say. So we're going to get some real juicy and good secrets here. So Tiffany, glad to be speaking with you.
I'm so happy to be here. I love that we're neighbors. We could have just did this in person together, shoulder to shoulder, but it's so easy to be on Zoom nowadays.
And I don't know if you've ever done that. It's so awkward. You have to different people like leaning in with the microphone. And I've actually tried that in person. I ended up just like going in a different room, even though we were like in the same room. So I'm just like, I go with what I know until I find something better. And like you said, so we might as well be in a different one room over, but we're neighbors. And we finally made this happen, right? We did a lot of like kind of back and forth on LinkedIn. And as you know, you have an exciting up and coming podcast. You know, some podcasters. The podcast is a great way to know someone because it gets recorded. You have this permanent record and you're not just necessarily chit chatting, but you're getting to the real important stuff, right? And it has a lasting effect that can change many others' lives. So we introduced you a little bit. We gave people a kind of a tease of what you're all about. But what's your current focus and passion? What should people really know about Miss Tiffany Alexander?
Oh, that's a great question. Can I unpack that a little bit?
Let's do it.
Primary focus right now is I'm raising capital for my fund, and that fund is dedicated to investing into discounted mortgage notes in the first lien position. We're able to secure those from pretty big hedge funds where they're releasing so much quantity of them per month. We just happen to elbow our way in. It's kind of an interesting niche that you can get into. And from there, the bigger vision is, hey, we want to buy these bulk packages and then put them on a website. So that way the little guy, the little investor would be able then to in turn buy them at a pretty good rate of return. Because we're looking, usually people are staring at a yield. What's their return? What's my investment? So we want to help the little guy that wouldn't be able to create all these relationships with the people that we've been able to do for years. But personally, that's what I do for myself. I used to be a landlord, have a lot of investments and rentals and flips. And I decided, oh my gosh, that was so hard. Someone showed me, I say, come to the dark side. We decided to just sell all the rentals, stop flipping houses. And now I'm the bank. I own my own mortgages. That's kind of what I do day in and day out. A little bit of fun stuff here and there. I like to consult and help with people. I'm becoming a little bit of a super networker, master connector. And if somebody says, hey, Tiff, I need a guy, I'm like, oh, I know a guy. Let me share with you who it is that I know. I'd love to help you grow and thrive in your business. And I'm a big fan of Alex Hormozy. So if you want to know any sort of content, I want to give it away to you for free because I want my free content to be better than paid content that's out there. As far as like real estate, notes, and all that jazz goes. And then also my day in and day out life is I have a 3-year-old and a 6-year-old. So I play mom a lot and we tea party right now. That's our season of life that I'm in.
Very nice. Very cool. And I have a 4-year-old and I've just found that I used to like make fun of people that had parents when they say like, oh, you changed so much. But I've definitely in these last few years, like just figured out like being patient and then realizing like how short life is, isn't it? Like you see
Right.
your kids grow up and it's like, man, every day is just like they're a little bit older. And so there's no point in struggling and just chugging along and churning, like especially if you're own these properties and you're landlording and you have to unclog the toilets and get out of bed at 3 a.m. If it's not working, then figure a way out of your situation and figure out a way to not just give up, but like evolve into the next level, which it seems like that's what you've done, right? You've turned it into just the notes on paper, but then you've also said, okay, well, in order to continue with my own growth, I have to embrace the spokesperson publicity aspect of it, and the Alex Hormoziness of like giving away your stuff for free. And like I love where he says like something like, well, give away so much stuff for free that people are like saying they want to buy something from, like asking you to sell them something. It's like, okay. And especially with YouTube and social media, like information, it's so like disposable now, isn't it? Like you teach something about real estate, and 4 or 5 years from now it's completely worthless, and you just need this continually make this information and teach, and also have this daily activity to be speaking with people. And so, I mean, tell me about, was there a deliberate decision to transform from the flipping houses into what you are now, or did it just kind of evolve over time?
Oh, that's a great question. There's like three main chunks of my story within that. And the first one is I'm a dropout aerospace engineer. That was like my degree by trade, working myself in the airport trying to figure out, wow, I'm just going to get a job, to deciding to flip on the TV late one night and seeing my very first infomercial to say, hey, you can flip houses with no money down. And that was like it. I thought, wow, I found it. I know what I want to be when I grow up. And I did that for 12 years. And I thought I knew all the secrets. I thought I'd been to enough seminars. I thought I learned it all. And I was doing an event where I was actually a consultant in the back to be paid to be like an expert in the room. And I'm shoulder to shoulder with another guy. And he's like, hey, you tell me about some of your deals, but I think I think you're a tired landlord. And I was like, what? What are you talking about? I'm doing my thing. I was sort of in denial, like justifying that my tenants were fine. They talk about the problems with tenants. They call them the three T's. Tenants, their termites, toilets, and turnover. Well, I dubbed a fourth T, which is tears, from like the terrible tenants that you've had over the years. And he said, did you know that you could do all this without the headache of the tenants, but just be the bank? And my mind, it broke. I thought, what? I thought I was doing this the great way. I'd learned from all the experts, all the gurus, all the seminars. And he said, no, let me show you. And it was literally him, like 3 nights in a row at dinner, just penciling out for me, this is how it works. This is why it works. Here's how you go and make it happen. And I thought, this is changing my world. I went back home doing more math, weeks of phone calls. And I decided, I told my husband, I said, I'm going to list all of our rental property. I don't want to do that anymore. And he's like, whoa, what are you talking about? I'm like, this guy blew my mind. And so it was just one conversation from one person to show me this space that's still within real estate, but it's so unheard of that people aren't aware that you can tap into it. It's just difficult to find unless you know exactly what to Google. Because how do you Google, how do I buy a note? Well, what? Like a sticky note? Like what are you talking about? The internet doesn't know what that means. But if you're in the note space, we know what that means. So that was my transition from having that epiphany, my Tiffany epiphany of like, wow, I don't want to be a landlord anymore. I don't want to flip houses anymore and deal with contractors and deal with banks and deal with all this stuff. I can actually just become the bank. Because if you think about it, most of the downtowns and everywhere in America, what are the names on all of those buildings? They're usually all bank names. Banks are not owning all this property. They're just controlling it. They're controlling us. And they're able to do that with leverage, and being able to show people that. I love opening a can of worms for people, because what do they say about that? You can't unthink that thought now. We have to go deeper and further into it. And that's what I want to share with everybody.
Wonderful. And it happened to you, so now you're passing it on. You had that origin story, hero's journey of sorts, right? Your
Yes.
Obi-Wan Kenobi came to you and said, "Hey, you're doing okay, but you're struggling too much. You're working way too hard. Here's a better way of going about it." And so you're saying that, so this is this kind of this technique of like buying the notes in bulk from the bank, so to speak. Like you say that it's kind of not very well known or not very well used, but I mean, why isn't it? Like, why hasn't it caught on more? Sure, you can't Google the phrase, but why haven't people just been putting out like tons of like courses and content and YouTube channels? Why hasn't it become more mainstream?
I guess it depends on what you're Googling. There are several leading experts that I would trust entirely for you to go and take their seminar and that you would learn from them. The problem is it's still a little bit of a gatekeeping type thing. Like you're going to go, you're going to pay $1,000 for 3 days, and they're going to say, cool, here's a little bit of information. And then they're going to say, oh, by the way, you can buy our 25, 40, or $50,000 package for you to really know everything. But then you're still going to have to DIY it. Like if I could just give you maybe a couple of books and you could condense all that information. I believe like we're in the internet age that you can find all of the information that you probably would need to know to crush it, just make it happen, to make it happen. So it's a matter of finding what's the most pertinent information. And then your brain power has to kick in of the confidence of the being able to stick with it and believing in yourself that if you just do enough of them, that it's going to kind of roll out. So there are experts in the industry, and I would suggest you find them and follow them if you want to crack into this. Just be careful if you're going to go spend a lot of money into this, that you're really, really committed and you're not going to quit, not give up on yourself until you've at least gotten your investment back.
Okay, well, fair enough. And this is a good lesson that you're introducing here, that information is only one element of success here, right? Like, sure, you need to learn these things, but you also need to sort what's important and what's not, because the internet is just a waterfall of information and it's easy to get distracted. So it's like, well, focus on what's important, but then there's also the implementation and the confidence and the follow through and the problem solving and all these other aspects. So like we all think, oh, if only I had this one lesson or read this one book, I know exactly what to do. And you'd say, well, you know what to do, but as far as like getting to that finish line, there's like 18 more steps that happen after that. And so as far as, so you get these notes from the bank, and then like, who's your target market? Who are you then selling them to?
That's a great question. So there's a number of different things you can do with them. And one of my favorites is you can buy one. So you come up, maybe use your retirement account, self-directed, maybe you have your savings account. You just have a little bit of money you want to allocate into an investment. You can actually go and purchase one of these notes, and you can do something in the industry that's called recapitalization. Meaning, let's say you buy a cute little note in Ohio for $50,000 because that's what they owe on their house. Maybe their house is worth 70 or 100. Well, you can actually borrow all of that money back out from that mortgage and go do this another deal or the same deal over and over again. So you actually don't need a ton of money to get started. And it's a matter of who is like, what's your end goal of this? So your end goal would be to keep them all for yourself, which I did for a long time. And I realized, gosh, I know so much. I need to share this with more people and help more people out with their finances instead of me keeping all this information. So you can build up little lists of people. You can tap into existing lists of people like meetups and Facebook groups, networking yourself to say, hey, I have an amazing investment. Would you want to be a part of it? And we're not talking like, 2, 3% at your savings account in your bank. We're talking about much stronger returns with very low risk, almost like boring assets. Just they're going to pay and they're going to pay.
Very cool, and it's almost, it gives me reminds me of like the BRRR a little bit, right?
A little
Except
bit.
for except for on paper, just the get the note, cash out the equity, and move on to the next step. And whenever you hear people talk about real estate, like I mean, YouTube's this lousy with real estate experts, and they always trash talk our area, right? They trash talk California, and they're saying like, hey, Florida and Ohio and all these other kind of the frontier states are more exciting. And I've never really understood why. Like, what is the beef with real estate investors in California, and like, what's the better location to be?
I'm not even mad about real estate in California. It is expensive. And so if you are keeping it as a rental, the numbers don't work well, which is fine. And we live in a very inexpensive side of California. We can get properties under 500 grand still. With that, it's like, well, gosh, those numbers don't work as a rental. Well, do they work as a flip? Well, you got to buy it really, really low. So people might be just having beef with us in general because of the price of our properties. But as far as a note's concerned, California is fine because if they stop paying, that's actually a whole nother direction that we could head, that it's even better because now I own their mortgage for less than they've even owe on their mortgage to their original bank. Now I am their bank and I can just foreclose and take their house. And it's relatively short and easy to do in California. So I'm not mad at California, but all the flippers and the holders are.
Okay, well, you figured a lot of things out, and it sounds a little like scary to me, just like hearing some of this. It's like it almost like it seems too good to be true. So like, what's the downside here? Like, what is there has there been anything like that you didn't know going in? You're like, hey, I wish I'd known about this potential danger.
That is a great question. And I have a couple different ways to answer it. The downside is you get into this not knowing that, wow, whenever I buy a rental property or I buy a house, we actually go through title and we get like a clean slate because they take care of everything in the past. and you're just moving forward with you being the owner or the landlord, and then you get that clean documented paperwork. Now, when we buy a note, we're buying whatever the shoes that were placed in existence when that note was originated. So the one thing that I didn't realize was, oh my gosh, I need to pull a title report and I need to make sure that that title report is good and accurate. And that could be a difficult thing for people that can't read these lengthy documents or understand what it is they're reading and the nuances of the paperwork. But if you can get someone on your team for very inexpensive that knows that space, you don't have to become an expert. I want you to stay in your lane. Let's figure out what you're good at and let's do what you're good at because that's still fun. So let's hire out a guy for $100, hire out a guy for $50. You can hire an attorney for $150 to get all of the paperwork done for you. It is such a low cost of entry for the paperwork side, even the management side. So it's like, gosh, if I got a rental and there was a downside to having a rental, the management could be bad, the tenant could be bad, the property could be bad. There's 1,000 different ways that rentals can go wrong and have gone wrong with me. And from there, it's just awful. Whereas like, whoa, what's the downside here? Well, gosh, the paperwork could suck. The people could, you buy it and it's performing and the people stop paying. Like, well, gosh, what? That's not even a downside for me because if they stop paying, I get their house or I can help them out. The downside may not even be that because I can get them maybe paying again, or I can get them to do like a cash for keys situation where I'm helping them out even more, or I go into foreclosure and the house is just destroyed. So that's why we make sure we buy at a very good rate to pad in those numbers that if I have to go and fix the house, if I'm going back into like an REO, a bank owned situation, that we're accounting for that. So you got to make sure you buy right like we do in all real estate deals. Those are some of the downsides.
Okay, and I love your problem solving logic here because the average kind of untrained logic in a situation like this is someone to say like, okay, well, let me look for the ways this can go wrong because that's natural, right? That's like the human brain how it
Yeah.
functions. You're driving a car down the street. Okay, what's going on in front of me? Like, is a car on fire or someone running a red light? Like, what's the danger? But then it seems like if you're not careful you keep searching until you find a way to talk yourself out of that opportunity or that risk, and then you say, see, I was right all along. But then you're saying, well, let's, if you find that fly in the ointment, then you unpack that and say, okay, well, I'm worried about this. What if my tenant doesn't pay, or what if there's this bad stuff with the title? And you say, well, here are some solutions to either make the problem less scary or to have a plan if it does go south. So that's just kind of a good like roadmap in general, right? For us to be more optimistic and to have the more like entrepreneurial mindset instead of employee mindset. And so something that you've also mentioned that I like a lot about what you said here is the social aspect of it, right? And like, some of us, the socializing doesn't come naturally, or we have to work at it, or are always looking for ways to be better. So what do you have to say about, like you say, you're always networking to kind of find potential investors and buyers, things like that. So what are your lessons to tell us about networking, and maybe like what don't people talk about enough when it comes to the socialization?
Oh, I love that you asked me this question. I'm a wild extrovert. Not a lot of people are. I think you may even say you're a little bit of an introvert yourself. People are generally very selfish. Not to say like entrepreneurs, we're giving, right? We have a heart. Selfish in a manner of they are so concerned about themselves that if you trip over a word or if you introduce yourself funky or you didn't say it right the first time, generally a lot of people are forgiving of that, but they're not worried about you. So I want you to go out there, put yourself out there because people are not staring you in the light that you're criticizing your own self. So I just need you to shake that off and go ahead and go meet some new people. And I don't even care if it's in a grocery store or if it's in a meetup group or if it's in a Zoom and you don't even want your camera on. You just got to let people know what it is that you need and what you want and how you can maybe offer them a help. I like to start my conversations with, hey, I love problem solving. Is there anything going on in your business that maybe I can find a solver for you? Oh, wow, that's so awesome. What do you do? And then almost like this law of obligation where they're like, wow, Tiffany's like just free willing to offer to help me out. How can I help her out? I really want to go in with just such a giving heart that even if there's nothing that ever came back from me because I'm not expecting it, that they know like, wow, I can come to her and she'd be willing to help me out. So just You can be yourself. It's okay. People aren't really that worried about you. Shake it off and go meet some people and let them know what you need and find out what they need. And let's figure it out so we can all help each other out in this crazy world right now.
Just do your reps, right? That it's like if you go to the gym one time and lift some weights and say, "Oh, why aren't I ripped?" Well, it's not going to be a equal exchange like that. But if you make it a habit of going to the gym, then like eventually you'll get some results. And in the same way that you're saying, if you make it a habit of talking to people at the grocery store or whatever situation, just kind of up your game and make it a point to overcome the cringe. You're saying that, well, hey, you know how concerned you are about your own appearance and concerned about stumbling over your words, well, hey, they might even be even more concerned than you are about yourself.
Right.
So instead of being like everyone else out there, be someone different, because it's rare for someone to listen and ask them about their problems and ask how you can help. And so along those lines, what are your current problems, Tiffany? I'm here. I am already implementing seconds later what you just taught me. So what is on the future, the horizon for you? What are you struggling with? What's happening soon?
Oh, that's great. I love that. We're currently in problem solving. So we're looking to help those that are looking to put maybe money they have laying around in savings or in very low risk assets that they would prefer to park in my fund. We're paying 8% on very low risk assets with first lien position. And so as a need that I'm wanting to do is to fill up my fund with a certain amount of money from investors that want to come to me. And what I'm doing is I want to solve that problem for them, so they know that they can have their money at a better return or a better yield to them that's sitting in something that they would have just probably sat in their savings account. Because I do want people to go get their double their money or their Bitcoin money. That's not the space that I play in. So what we're looking for is new investors that want to come, pop their money into the fund, learn to trust us and live vicariously through us with the amazing assets that we're doing. And then you guys can participate. A lot of people are going to be like, wow, Tiff, I love what you do. That's so cool. And at some point you want to be in so bad, but you're like, oh, I throw my hands up in the air. When you do that, because you don't want to go learn everything I've learned, you just park your money in my fund and you get to see all the deals that we're doing. You get to say you're a part of it.
Very cool. So and this has been a repeat topic in our conversation here, that one person can't do everything. So if there's something that you need help with or need to do, then pay someone else to do it, or get someone else on your team, so to speak, to be that part of it. And this investing idea is exactly what that is. But then we have also been saying that people find all the reasons in the world to talk themselves out of stuff. And so how much money does someone need to invest with you? If someone's saying like, oh, well, I will do this someday, but I need to like pile up X amount of money. Like, how much does someone usually start with, or how much should someone have if they want to look into these 8% returns?
Oh, that's a good question. We are looking for new investors because we have our current investors right now at the $250,000 and up level, and a few investors we'd like to bring in at like the $1 and $5 million level, because we're going to be at probably $100 million in the next 12 to 18 months.
Awesome. Well, cool. And so what are some next steps here? Like, you have a website and a YouTube channel and a LinkedIn. If someone says, I'm so impressed with what Tiffany had to say, like there's an easier way than landlording or flipping, and I want to find out more about what she has going on. You have your book a consultation button on your website, etc. So where should someone go? What are some next steps, call to actions here? Oh, you're muted.
They can run right over to our website. It's aspensagefund.com. And there's an appointment calendar on there that you can book time directly with me. And we can identify that if your needs with what you're looking at in your investment would be a good fit for what we have. They can also check out some incredible videos that we have on our YouTube channel when you type in Aspen Sage Fund. Some introductory 3-minute ones, some baby chunks for you to say, man, what is a note? I need to learn more about that. Well, I've got those on there for you too. And then a little bit deeper dive of a 9-minute video of what our fund is really currently all about. That's the best way to find me. And of course, you can always find me on LinkedIn too. So that way you can see some social posts we're doing and just learn more about me.
And to find Tiffany Alexander on LinkedIn, in case you get mixed up with the other Tiffany Alexander, search Tiffany Alexander Modesto, and that way you can find the correct one. She's local, she's nearby. And then Aspen Sage on YouTube to find those 3-minute videos, but most importantly, that website, aspensagefund.com. You can go there. You can have that meeting with Tiffany and her team because she practices what she preaches, right? She says that it's so important to do this one-on-one interaction, the customization, and you're putting your money with her. And so it's it can be scary, right? You can have questions, you can have doubts. So she's here to say, hey, is this the right fit? Does this match with your needs? You have that conversation by going to aspensagefund.com. That's aspensagefund.com, aspensagefund.com. Tiffany Alexander, who has got this real estate investing thing figured out. She's from Modesto. And as we're wrapping up, winding down our conversation here, Tiffany, I like to stump my guests, put them on the spot a little bit, and ask them for a fun quote or lesson that has helped them in their journey, to use your keyword. I know you love that word journey. So in your journey, what's a fun quote or lesson that you've learned that you can pass on to us?
Oh, the lesson I'd like to leave with people is actually applying to real estate. So if you want to jump in, you can't just go out there and make one offer and accept that offer to be gotten accepted on your behalf. You have to try 100 or 1,000 times and be willing to prepare yourself for the no's. So don't stop, don't quit, don't give up on you or yourself or your dreams or goals because it's out there. It's just a matter of what number of door that it's going to be behind that you open it.
That's cool. It's like a game show, right? Is it behind door number 782 or number 907? So go out there and have fun and learn and fulfill and just get to that next step in your real estate journey. But the first step after listening to this podcast is go to aspensagefund.com, book that call, have that conversation, and you can finally make things a lot easier, right? You don't have to do the flipping or the dealing with tenants or the riding the stock market or the low returns, any of that. See what's possible, explore some possibilities, talk to Tiffany Alexander and her team at aspensagefund.com. Invest in yourself and build the future you want. So wonderful speaking with you today, Tiffany.
I appreciate your time so much. It's amazing to hang out.